Morning, everyone. Welcome to our next few weeks in Canvas. And this time we're going to be taking a look at the Finch robot with Snap. This project or this part of the course is going to have two parts to it. And the first part will be done in about 3 weeks. Then we have part two, which will take us to the end of third quarter. So third quarter is all about Finch and Snap. Okay. So the first thing is when you come to the home page, you might have noticed it changed a little bit up here. We got a little Snap, and Snap is a block language. So for those who haven't coded before, it's kind of easy or easier because you don't have to type out the code. You just put in the variables like turning left 50. You might change to turning left 60 or 100. And so you put in variables, you can kind of experiment, and it's a little bit easier for beginner coders. So Snap is where we're going to be starting. And what I want to do is kind of go over a few things on the home page here. The first thing is you see this thing called Brisk Boost. And you can join this class. And what it is an AI tutor. So all the reading or videos you do, let's say here we got a quiz on algorithms, pseudocode, and flowcharts. There is in the modules, a Brisk Boost lesson that matches this. And you can go there and interact with the tutor. It's all AI. It's kind of cool. And they will help you understand algorithms, pseudocode, and flowcharts. So you can ask questions and it'll give you answers. And if your answers, it'll ask you questions. And if your answers are kind of limited or very vague, it will ask for more information from you. Totally optional, but it is a great place and a great way to learn the content. It's interactive and it's not just reading or watching a video. You can engage in a conversation just like a real teacher or a real tutor. So that's what Brisk Boost is. As we go through here, you can see, we're starting Finch and Snap this week. And here are the dates that we're kind of aiming for, January 22nd to February 7th. And again, everything starts in the modules. One of the things I did in the lessons in the last one, you might have noticed, I'm definitely marking them as learn, quiz, learn, project. And the way this class works is you learn the content. You're not necessarily tested in any way on the content. But when you get down to this project is going to tell me if you learned the information up here on top. So if you're someone who's like, you know what, I just want to get it done. There's a quiz today. I'm just going to go take the quiz and I'm going to get it done and over with. You might pass the quiz because you can Google anything on the internet, right? You can Google your answers for the quiz and you might pass it. And I'm going to be no wiser. However, when it comes time to doing this project, I'm going to know because you can't Google an answer to this project. Okay. So the project is going to tell me that you actually did the work up here on the top. Okay. Remember, like quizzes are worth 100 points and there's only 10 questions. So that's 10 points a question. The project is worth like 700 points or 1,000 points. I don't remember which one this is, but that's a lot of points because we need to balance our first semester with our second semester. Obviously, this project has a lot more weight than these quizzes. Okay, so you want to make sure you're taking care of business, learn the content, and then the content is applied to the project. The quizzes are just little stops for me to do some checking, but they're not worth the amount of points as that project is. This information is important, okay? Right now we're using a baby language, and I don't want to call it a baby language. It's a block language. It's Snap. It's a little bit easier to understand. This is when you want to learn the stuff, Okay, this is when you want to learn what a repeat is. This is when you want to learn what a variable is. And you want to understand how you can manipulate your variables. If you don't do this now, when we get to fourth quarter and you're typing in Python, you don't have blocks to look at anymore. It's going to get a lot harder real fast, especially if you have no idea what a repeat does. Okay, so make sure you're going through that. Now, the next thing on the page is need help. And this is, if you see it says resource library for Finch Robot, Snap, and recording audio on the Chromebook. So anytime I'm coming across stuff and there's an error or problem, this will take you directly to the module where your resources are at. So let's go ahead and close this up. Resource library, Finch Robot, and Snap. And here are all the different items that you might need. So for example, let's say you're going to go to the lab one day and you're going to work with the Finch robot, but it's not a day I'm there. Miss Montgomery can give you a robot any day of the week. And you're like, well, how do I get a hold of it? Or how do I access it at the lab? It's not the same way we've been doing it remotely. Well, the instructions for how to access the robot at school in the lab will be right here. And it tells you exactly in the video where to go. And it tells you how to find your robot. And it tells you everything you need to know about connecting at the lab. Okay. So technically, the day, or let's say you want to go this week to the lab and actually work with the robot, or Miss Montgomery has you coming into school to do something else, and you're like, you know what, I can do the robot while I'm there. You can do it. She has one. And all that stuff is under this need help, and it's the resources in the library. Okay, so that's there. Then farther down on the home page, if we go down the page, you'll see the calendar of when we can access the robot during weeks 3 through 5. So today, during this Zoom class, you could access the Finch robot and checked out your coding. Okay, today's over with, so that's not an option anymore. You can go to the academic lab on the 27th. I'll be there to help you. It's in person. We got the Finch robot from 9 to 12, and you could try it then. If you can't come to school on the 27th, you got the 30th at 10 to noon, which is a Thursday. That's this meeting, but next week. And you can access the Finch robot between 10 and 2. Okay. And then there's a Zoom class on February 6th to give it a try. So for your project and for making sure you understand how this works, you have 3 more opportunities, 1 in person and 2 Zoom class periods to access that Finch robot, because today's already done and over with. Or you can make an appointment Monday through Wednesday from 1 to 2 to use the Finch robot. Remote accessing the Finch robot requires me to do lots of different things on the back end, like accessing servers, setting them up, making sure they're plugged in, turned on, all those kind of things. So there is limited times of when you can do that. You can't just send me an email and say, Miss Clark, can we jump on and do the robot? I'm going to say no, because I have a meeting in 10 minutes and it's going to take me 10 minutes to get it set up. Okay, so make sure you're planning your time wisely on when you can access that Finch robot. Okay, because that's part of this class. And then down at the bottom are the other items that were on last week. Things like Zoom meetings. Here's the link. When you can do it on Thursdays, the academic support. So if you're wondering what days I'm going to be there, you can see the days are there. And then again, you can email me between 1 and 2. So that information is all there. Okay. And you can see you got quite the to-do list on the other side. All right. Modules is where we're going to start again. And this time it's going to be on week 2. Okay. So welcome to semester 2. We're done with that. So I'm going to close up that week. And our resource lobby, our resource library is right under semester 2, learning to get started. And you can see it's pretty well listed on here what it is. So if you need to remote access the Finch, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, I'm going to put that in the second video. That'll be there. If you're at home, there's a Snap coding manual. If you're interested in doing some advanced stuff in Snap, there's our coding manual. If you're interested in the coordinate system, when you do a maze project, that might be important. So there's a little resource on the coordinate system. And then if you're drawing a picture, like we're doing over in Logo, graph paper and coordinate paper, or graph paper and doing your coordinates, that will help you in figuring out how to draw your image, whatever it's going to be. And then, of course, there's some advanced Finch project and ideas here. So there's lots of resources in here. Oh, and if you're having a problem recording your Chromebook, there's a resource link here as well. And all your projects are going to be an audio recording. So let me go back to this first week real quick, just to go over something. And down here where you get to the project, I put in some sample projects. Okay. And I'm going to click on the second one here, which is Beginner Plus. Sophia just turned this in, and she had some issues in recording to her Chromebook. And what we did is we troubleshooted and we tried different things, and the block content that she was getting, we couldn't get past it. And I think what was happening is she was using the Turtle Academy, and the Turtle Academy has advertisements on it, and that's the copyrighted protected information that would not let her Chromebook do the recording. That's okay. We got another solution. There is a Chrome Google extension that is called Screencastify. You can install that on your Chromebook. She did it. It works. And the only thing she noted is you only get 10 free recordings. We might have more than that in this class. So if you only get 10 free ones, we still got to, you might have to come up with another solution, or hopefully it was the reason it didn't work is because of the advertising. And then the other thing she said is make sure you turn audio. The default is off before you record. Because she worked really hard and she recorded an 8-minute video and the audio was off. Right? So you want to make sure you turn the audio on, because default wise it is off. And if you want to see what a good example of a project is, I'm not going to play it, but you made this cool circular stars, if you want to call it that, out of triangles, and using the repeat function, changing the thickness of some lines, changing the color of some lines, all real basic stuff for Logo. Okay, so this is a good example. She shows her code and she explains it. And this would be an example of a great explanation video. And this is going to be just the same way when you do your projects for Snap and all that. You are going to explain to me what the code is. Because I know in this day and age, you can go and copy and paste code from the internet, put it in there, push the button and make this, and not even do one darn thing over here. Okay? I'm not going to give you a grade for that. At least you should be able to explain to me what's happening to make this image. Okay? And she explained throughout the video what she was doing, how her repeats worked, why she was turning 10 degrees right, and what this all ended up meaning. Okay? That's what I want to know. Okay? So the explanation videos are very important. That's how you're turning in your video or your projects. You're not just going to send me code and say, here's my game. I want to know how you made the game, and you're going to explain it to me. Okay, so anyways, there's a good example there. I know we kind of backtracked to last week's stuff, but I wanted to make sure you saw that because that was something new I added today. Okay, so that's really everything that's on the home page. It'll follow the same format. A lot of you did the binary quiz. Good job. I think once we got, the hang of how binary works and how every bit, multiplies on, you start with 0 and then you got 1. 1 goes to 2, you double that, it goes to 4, you double that, it goes to 8. But we all did pretty good on the binary quiz. There's the Edpuzzle, the history of the logo, and most of you did a really good job on that. As you know, with Edpuzzles, you go through them, you watch the video, it asks you questions and all that. So we got those turned in, and the logo project, most of you have done, but there's still a lot of those projects missing. This is not a class you want to get behind in. Okay, so make sure you're taking care of business. And then quiz number 1, computational thinking, that's where we're going to go next because this was due yesterday. Okay, so on the home page, you can go to click on modules, and this will take us to the Finch robot and Snap. Or you can click on each one of these lessons as you go down through the information. Do not do this. Do not go to the calendar. Do not go to, oh, I see we missed a quiz. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go take that quiz and think you're done for today because you didn't learn any of the other information. There might be, I'm thinking I had 5 pages of information before you even got to the quiz. Okay, so if you're just taking the quiz and you didn't go back and do all the other stuff, you have no idea how these robots work and how to code in them. Okay, you have no idea how to get to the BrainBird tutorials. Okay, so don't just look at the calendar and say, oh, I got a quiz today, I'm going to take that and get it done and over with without doing all the other information. Okay, the best way to do this class is to go to the modules. And that's where we were heading before I got distracted with that other stuff. And you can see it jumped us right to the correct week. Let me close up the resources. And let me close up last week's. Okay, so we get a little bit better idea of what we're looking at. Sure thought I figured it. Let's try this one again. There we go. Okay, so there was last week's stuff. Here's the resource library. Now we're on weeks 3 to 5. This is part 1. Okay, this overview page is the welcome page. That's the home page. That's all the stuff I just went over. We could click on it again if you want to. And you'll see this is everything we just talked about. So if you missed the first 3 weeks, there's weeks 1 to 3, when we were doing the logo, there's an overview page with all this information there. Okay, so you can go back in time and take a look and see what was happening during those weeks. Okay. On this page, we can go down here and hit next. I have sent out 2 emails, and these are just kind of like updates of what's going on. Sometimes kids have a hard time finding things because, it's in their Google Mail and they forget about it. That's fine. I put the emails in here. So that's the first email if you missed it. And here's the second one. This was a reminder that we had the Zoom today. And there's some words of warning on here. Okay. For those of you who are not doing any work, you're going to dig yourself a big hole really fast. And then I kind of tried to explain down here. Right now, you might have an A in this class, but if you don't do anything 3rd quarter and you get an A 4th quarter, the highest grade you can get is 75. Each quarter is worth 25%. Okay. First semester is worth 50, second semester is worth 50. I would try to get an A for third quarter because coding in Snap is so much easier than coding in Python. If you're trying to get that A or B, fourth quarter is going to be really hard if you're not familiar with coding, or if you didn't pay attention to what was going on, you're going to have a really hard time getting 25% in a Python coding class. Okay, so if you got an A first semester, great job. You want to keep that A for third quarter, because if you don't, fourth quarter is going to get really hard real fast, and you're going to end up with that C or D for this class, even though you got an A right now at semester. Okay, it's simple math. Each quarter is worth 25%. If you bomb on these 2 quarters, that's not good. Okay, I got a few of you who had a really low grade first semester. Just like the people up here working with an A, your year's not over with. Do really well these next 2 quarters, and you could end up with a final grade of 60% or higher. Okay, so you got to make sure. It all depends on how low your F was, of course, but you still have a chance. You got to get those A's each one of these quarters. Okay, so simple math. Okay, final last words. Read the pages, watch the videos, do the activities. Even if they're not graded, try them out. Make sure it works. Make sure make sure you understand what's happening. And the projects will show me that you understand all this information. Okay. So that last email, I kind of sent out some important information in it. I hope you read it, but this isn't one of those classes you want to wait. It's not an Edgenuity class where you can go just Google all the answers. It doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way. Okay. So here we are. We're getting started with this week's stuff. We got the Finch robot and Snap. You can join Boost. Okay. That's our AI tutor. And we're using Finch and Snap. This is what their logos look like. The company's name is Brainbird Technologies. And I put those on there because sometimes it's just kind of nice to have logos to make sure you're in the right place and you're doing that. Okay. The Finch robot that we're going to be using. It senses, it thinks, and it acts. Okay. So there's light sensors on it. There's temperature sensors on it. There's something that tells you how fast you're going. It can be obstacles. It can, think of it like a Roomba vacuum cleaner. It knows when there's a wall in the way. So we're going to be learning out how to program all these items, okay, on this Finch robot. It's not just making it go around in a circle or draw a picture. We're going to be taking a look at if there's a lot of light, maybe that will make the robot go. So when someone walks into the room and turns on a light switch, then the robot happens. Or like now, it gets really cold. When it gets below 50 degrees, maybe the robot does something like turn up your thermostat. Okay, so this is the robot we're going to be using. Now, I'm not going to read through all these lessons to you because you're more than capable of reading and more than capable of doing, but I wanted to point some things out. Okay. So we are going to be using the Finch Snap professional development series, and they have 21 videos. Okay. This first project is videos 1 through 7, I believe. Okay. And then you're going to turn in a project. And then we're going to go through all these other lessons, and then you're going to turn in your final project. Okay. 1 through 7 is basically, can we hook up to the robot? Can we make it do some things, draw? It's mostly movement. 8 through 21 gets into LED lights, sensors, all those type of things, and it gets more advanced. This final project is going to include elements from all of these lessons and maybe even more. So I might say in lesson number 4, you learn how to turn the wheels of the robot. So in your final project, I'm going to say there needs to be code that shows you turning the wheels of the robot to do something that you're doing, whatever it is. Okay. In lesson 12, it might say something about LED lights blinking in a series like Morse code. Well, then I might say down here in your final project, your Finch robot needs to blink lights in Morse code to tell a message. Okay. So all these items that you learn in these 21 lessons are going to accumulate into one project where you're coding it all together. Could be 200, 300, 400 lines of code where you're coding all these different elements to make that robot do something. So basically, we can make that robot sing and dance and jump around and, not run into walls and have battle bots and joust and draw all at the same time. Okay. And that's what's going to happen here. Okay. So I put this big warning sign here. It says, make sure you understand the lesson before you move on. Okay. And if you think about it this way, you cannot write an essay if you don't know your ABCs. You can't speak a foreign language if you don't learn the basics of the foreign language. Okay. So you have to learn the basics before you can go on to the big thing at the end here. If you just think, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this big thing here at the end, this big project, and I say, okay, you need to teach us something using Morse code, you're going to go, I don't know how to do that. Which lesson is that in? And I'm going to say, go start at the beginning and work your way through the lessons like you should have been doing for the last 2, 3, 5, 10 weeks, however long it is. Okay. So all the information is there for you. You just need to do it. Okay. So this is the very first lesson. And they talk about something called computational thinking. And this is what a lot of your quizzes are on. What is computational thinking? What's an algorithm? What's decomposition? What's evaluation? What's abstraction? And these are all concepts that they use in the coding world. Okay. People just don't code a game. They have to use evaluation or decomposition to make that coding of the game happen. All right. So you're learning a lot of not just how to code the robot, but how to code efficiently in a coding environment. Okay. So you'll go through lesson 1, you'll watch that, and you'll learn some cool stuff in it. And then I have a review page. Okay. Which is the BBC has these bite-sized pages. And you can see they have 2 pages, and that link will take you to the actual BBC site. But the first one is, what is computational thinking? The video just gives you a tiny little explanation of it. This is a more in-depth explanation. And then there's a second page that says thinking computationally. This is just kind of a sample of what that page would look like. Okay. Now, you can go to this website and you can read it and you can, if you comprehend it, that's great, because in the end, you need to understand it. But if you're someone and you're like, you know what, I need more, I don't quite get it, that is where these boost lessons are coming in. Okay. So what is computational thinking? That was that first page of BBC, and then thinking computationally, that was the second page. All right. So we can click on Meet Your Tutor. And my page might look a little bit different than yours because I'm the teacher, but let's see what pops up here. Okay. So it's going to say, let's go ahead and preview activity. And the web page comes up for you to read. So it's all there. So you'll read through it all. What are the 4 components, cornerstones of computational thinking? We got decomposition, pattern recognition, abstraction, algorithms. And then they talk, they show you where all those different parts come from. They explain it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is where this page is kind of cool. Down here, this tutor, which is all AI, it says, let's review the learning objectives. And these are the learning objectives up here. So if I just said to you, define computational thinking and its 4 cornerstones, you might go, oh, I don't know. Let's get started. And when you do this, Brisk is quickly reading through the page, and now it's going to come up with questions to ask you or have a conversation with you based on those learning objectives up there. And when this green bar gets all the way over here, you learn everything there is to learn on this page, and you understand it clearly because Brisk has been helping you out. Okay, so hello, I'm excited to help you learn about computational thinking today. To start, can you tell me what you think problem solving means? And you could type in there, whoops, I can't type today. Problem solving is looking at a problem and coming up with a solution. Now that's a pretty vague definition of problem solving. In fact, I've used the 2 words in there and added 3 other ones. Problem solving. Okay. If I hit enter, it's going to come back and say, that's a great definition. Problem solving is definitely about finding solutions to challenges. Now, can you think of a time when you had to solve a problem? What steps, and that's the important part, what are the steps that you take to find that solution? So what's a problem I had to solve? My cat was out of cat food. I had to go to the store, find the food you like, go to the checkout, scan the food, insert my debit card, package up the food, drive home, open, drive home. I think we'll stop there. All right. And you can see it wasn't a great typing. It doesn't care about capitalization. I did typos before when I was playing with this, and it really doesn't care. The AI is pretty smart. It'll figure it out. And then and it gives you a thing. Okay, you broke it down into the steps you need to solve the problem. And then it comes down, it says, you should understand what decomposition is. And then it says, identify those steps in your example that might represent decomposition. And you would have to understand what decomposition is, breaking it down into smaller parts, more manageable parts. And so I might say, when I was at the store. And that's true, but now it tells me the steps before you get to the store. Can you think of, so it keeps asking you questions and further driving your learning experience. Okay. So Brisk Boost is kind of cool. And if you get through this and you're like, you know what, I'm tired of your questions, I understand what this is, that's fine. If you want to play with the test that's in here to see if sometimes taking a test is good for people, because that helps them understand if they understand the content. You can go ahead and go down the test. It tells you if they're right or wrong, and you can retake after you think about it. Okay. You could also go back in here, and I showed you, whoops, I lost the boost on there. but here it is. You can also ask questions. Do not understand decomposition. No problem. They'll break it down together and answer your question. And it starts doing that. So if you come up with a question up here and you're like, I don't get what it wants me to ask, I'm not sure. Well, then ask it the question back and it will help you solve the problem. Okay. So that is Boost. And again, this is just for you to learn your information. If you think you need help, use it. If you think you got it, great. But just remember, you need to understand everything by the time you get to the end of the project. So one of the things in your final project I might do is tell me how you use computational thinking in your final project. Tell me how you decompose that problem that you tried to solve. Okay, so we're going to be using these terms and concepts in those final projects, and now is the time to learn them, not when you're sitting there trying to figure out your final project. Okay. Then, of course, there's a quiz on this one, and this should have been done already today because it was due yesterday, I believe, on the 22nd. Okay, so you're just going to work your way through the modules, but like I said, work from the pages. Don't just go take the quiz and think you're done, because there's a lot you can see that you might have missed. Okay, and then lesson 2 is setting up your Finch robot. Now with your robots, she goes over everything in lesson 2. There's this resource tab, which has some great things in there, and I highlighted a few of them. Even though you physically do not have that Finch robot in your hands, you still need to understand how it works, because you might have to go to the lab to use it, or you might have to access it remotely, and the name that the Finch robot is called, you're learning here in this video, so you can access it remotely from my computer. So you're understanding the whole product, not just the one part of it that we're using. Okay, and you're going to go next all the way through this stuff. Eventually there's a quiz on the Finch robot using microbits and all that, and I believe that was due today. Okay, this learning portal is where a lot of information is happening. So you just need, and the videos, I kind of put some time marks in there when I was referring to things. But the learning portal allows you to choose your device, which is a Chromebook. Now, if you have a Windows or a Mac at home or an iPad, you can select those, don't care. But I'm just presuming everyone's doing it off their Chromebook. And the version of the block coding we're using is called Snap. Why Snap? Why are we not using MakeCode or BirdBlock or what's the other one? Switch. It's because Snap works remotely. That's why we're using it. Okay. If we were in a regular class building with a regular school, we could be using Finch Block or BirdBlock or MakeCode. We could be using those. Okay. But we are using Snap because we can access it remotely. And then 4th quarter, we're not doing it here, but this is the language we're going to be learning 4th quarter, which is Python. Okay, so just pay attention to what you're doing, and program is where we're at when we go through this, and you can read through it all. I'm probably going over this stuff in more detail than I need to. Talks about finding your robots. Now, this is what the Snap environment looks like. And she talks about how you find these Finch moves, and everyone, like control has some Finch controls, sensing, there's some Finch controls. Okay, so all those items and blocks are over here for you to access for this Finch robot. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to let you go through all of those, but it follows the same format basically. There is pages to read. So if we take a look here, lesson 1, this is what I basically went over. What is computational thinking? Here's the Boost Review AI tutor, and that's where you can go and ask Q&A and learn more about it. And then there's your quiz. Setting up your Finch robot. You can read through there. There's your quiz. Remote access to the Finch. I'm going to make a separate video for that real shortly, and I will be posting that underneath there. And that will be our remote access to the Finch. Lesson 3, lesson 4, there's no quizzes, okay? Because you're learning how to move, you're learning how to control your wheels. If you did logo, these two are going to be really easy, okay? Lesson 5 talks about movement activities. What's an algorithm, pseudocode, flowcharts? That's the same thing in that final project you do. I'm going to say you need to write the pseudocode first. What's pseudocode? That's where you learn about it. Show me a flowchart. This is where you find out about it. Okay, so then there's a quiz. 6 is drawing with the pen mount. You'll be doing something with drawing, so you need to understand how this works. And then lesson 7 talks about drawing shapes, decomposition, and evaluation. Again, what are those items? There's a quiz. What is evaluation? There's a quiz. And in your projects, I'm going to be asking for those items to be told to me. Okay. So I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to let, because this video has definitely been long enough. Again, I will do a access, and the project videos will be coming up shortly. Let me know if you need any help. I'll be glad to help you out.